Your employees are giving all your company secrets away and you don't even know it. What if the adoption of AI has led to, just in a day-to-day basis, your companies using ChatGPT, using Gemini, using Claude, and all of a sudden, your information is on the internet for all of your competitors to find and use in a way to help their businesses.
Yeah.
Today, we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about AI governance and security. My name is Jim Ahlin, the host of the Roofing Success Podcast. I'm here with Rosalynn Verges from the AI Roofing Revolution.
Hi, thanks for having me back.
Man, this is the part that no one thinks about.
Yeah.
Right? It's just like, hey, get the tool.
Yeah.
Use the LLM.
Have fun.
How are the LLMs trained? Well, on your data, on the data that you give them.
Mm-hmm.
And so what are some of the first things that a company should think about in terms of AI governance and security?
Yeah. So I want to just start by reminding people, in the first episode, we talked about how ChatGPT now has over 800 million users. And again, as a frame of reference, in the United States, we have roughly 340 million people. Okay. So the likelihood that your employees are using some type of AI tool right now is very, very, very high. And if you don't have any type of policy, you've had zero communication with your employees about how you want them to use AI, then the kind of very natural next step is that they are using AI in ways that you may not want them to be using AI. And so the very first thing I would do if I were an owner is I would adopt an AI policy. And so in that policy, I would want to communicate what our expectations are around AI and provide them with, again, kind of guardrails or banks of the river for how you want your employees to be using and adding AI to their day. One of the big things to consider is that, like you said, all of these free AI tools that we're experimenting with and we're trying and are so fun, a lot of them, almost all of them, are starting from a place of being trained on your data and trained on your use. And now as LLM companies like OpenAI and Claude are kind of going into what we call the browser wars, meaning they have browsers that you can be utilizing their LLM technology on top of kind of your search or navigation function in your day-to-day internet use. They're gathering all of that information. So before, when you were just putting in and feeding in potentially your customer information, what's known as personal identifiable information, or PII, those are things like phone numbers, social security numbers, addresses. So this could be as simple as an employee saying, like, help me rewrite this draft to my customer, Susie, right? And they're providing that customer's information. And now that proprietary or that customer's personal identifiable information is now been exchanged without proper guardrails. Or maybe you have an employee that's saying, like, oh, I want to super helpfully rewrite this SOP. They've taken your standard operating procedure, which is your confidential intellectual property. In how you run your business is your intellectual property as a company. So now they've taken that SOP, they've done a very thoughtful, good intentioned, well-meaning thing, use ChatGPT to rewrite that. Well, now OpenAI has that information and it can be used to call back to. So now roofing company or whatever company down the street is looking for an SOP, and your process could be helping that next company create their standard operating procedure. So it can happen really quickly and really easily. I think there was a report that just came out that today, like 79% of data leaks at an enterprise level are coming from AI use. So it's big. It's really important to be paying attention to these things. And I always just kind of say, remember that your tools that are free, you're paying for them. You're just paying for them with your data and your company information, your intellectual property.
Yeah. There's a funny saying about that. Like if you're not, if you're not buying the product, you are the product.
Yeah.
Kind of
Yeah.
thing,
I love that. Yep.
Like,
yeah.
and so you're the product with these
Yeah.
services.
Yeah.
And so, what are some of the ways that a company can protect their data, enhance their privacy, and keep their intellectual property safe?
Yeah, so it starts with your data settings, for sure. And so what's interesting is that for a lot of the companies or AI tools that you might be using, it's different than what's intuitive to us. So I think for a lot of us, we're used to looking for some type of security setting, right, to protect us. And so we'd go into security, we'd change some type of setting, and then it's safe, right? It's secure. Well, this is different when it comes to an LLM because again, what we're actually talking about is data. And so usually I'd be looking in some type of in the tool that I'm looking for in the settings, you're going to go to some type of data and storage area. And that's where you're going to see the option to turn off the opportunity, like ChatGPT does this, where it's like, make the model better for everyone. For everyone. Oh, it's just so you'll be so helpful, won't you? That's where you're saying, do you want to give all of your secrets away or would you like to keep them for yourself? So you want to make sure that's turned off. You can do that again, just go into your settings gear there on ChatGPT, go into your settings gear, go to data, and that's where you'll see the option to turn off, make the model better for everyone. So usually it's language like that, something around improve the model, make the model better, etc. That should indicate to you that you are sharing information. I will say too that thinking about, again, kind of this concept of are you paying for it, but also coming back to the kind of parent companies of some of these products. So OpenAI, for example, the LLM, which is ChatGPT, pretty synonymous for AI now. They started as an open source model. So they've been meant to kind of create their product based on people's data. Whereas an organization like Microsoft or Google, they've actually started as enterprise first businesses. So Microsoft's Copilot and Google's Gemini are going to have some more inherent security measures because they were first meant to be business enterprise software. I would say probably the same concept is true when you're thinking about like the AI tools within your existing tech stack that maybe is getting added in. Yeah. But don't just assume that. I would ask, when you are utilizing a product and now all of a sudden it has a new AI feature, you have to be diligent because not everybody is slowing down to think about the AI security pieces of this. And so they could be adding this tool to, this company that you've worked with and it's your software provider, they could be adding to their tech stack without doing their own diligence. So there's kind of an extra layer of risk here that we need to be proactive about. And so we need to be asking, like, what are your terms of service? What are you doing with my data? Mm-hmm. What happens when I interact with this tool? Where does my information go? And so as you're adding tools, even if you're not changing your tech stack, as you see AI tools become available to you, you need to be diligent there too.
Yeah, for sure. I didn't think about that because a lot of these softwares, what they're using as an underlying layer is ChatGPT. Mm-hmm. That's the underlying layer for a lot of the tools. So if your CRM or ERP is starting to add AI options into the functionality of it, it could be using that. And hopefully they're dealing with that on an enterprise level.
Yep.
But who knows, right? And they
Yep.
have a lot of data, like a CRM they have a lot of data that can be used in some pretty crazy ways. So, which would help your business as like the AI learns how all of the roofing and contracting companies work, mm-hmm. and it's like, oh, I can improve your flow based on this company's flow over here.
Yeah.
Because you both use the same software. Like it's a potential but if you're the company that's doing well,
yeah, kind of unfortunate, right?
Yeah,
I don't necessarily want to make all of my competitors better.
So it might be good for people who are not doing well in business that all of the good competitors' data is being shared. Just kidding.
Yeah.
But what are some sample policies and guardrails that a company should put in place?
Yeah. So again, I would come back to making sure that you're protecting your confidential information as a company, your intellectual property. So just making sure that you are, first of all, that you've decided on what you're using as a company for your kind of standard LLM. A lot of us are on Google products already in the roofing industry, and Gemini is great. It's a really well-performing tool. If your employees like to use ChatGPT, I would highly consider investing in some type of business or plus plan, because then you're going to have the data protection. The free version that they're using and paying for on their own, again, that's concerns, because now that information is going outside of your business. And so they do have business plans that you can add. And so I would start with identifying like what's kind of your standard LLM that you want to use. Again, if you're a Microsoft company, maybe it's Copilot. If you're Google, maybe it's Gemini. Or if you just love ChatGPT yourself and that's what you want to go with, make sure you're going with a business plan so that you have those security protections. So first, start there and make sure your employees understand. The other piece is like if your employees are using ChatGPT or something like that at home, you need to be specific and clear that they are not putting any company information in there, that they're not putting any customer information in there, that they're not putting any personally identifiable information in there. Same with and like this is just good education and good stewardship in general for your employees. They should know to maybe not put in their kids' names and information and, just some of those best practices for internet security anyway, that they can be thinking about. When we do our AI Foundations course, one of the first things that we talk about is AI security. And then the next thing that we talk about is what we call AI etiquette. And what I mean by that is we're checking to see, did the AI hallucinate? We understand our responsibility. One of the big questions that I get a lot that sometimes comes up in the AI space is whose fault is it? So if I'm utilizing AI in my company and we've said, like, this is our policy, go for it, use it as much as you can, and the AI makes a mistake, who's responsible for that mistake? And so your employees need to understand that they are responsible. And you as a company need to understand that you're responsible to your customers, to your shareholders, stakeholders, in how you're using that too. So I think talking about responsibility and ownership is a really important element of that conversation and that policy. And then outcomes, what's going to happen if something does go wrong, and having clear expectations, and then how employees can report concerns or problems. When we talked about in the last episode, as we were talking about AI math and measurement, one of the things you might want to consider measuring is like how satisfied your customers are with the outcome, and also how happy your employees are with their use of that tool. And so making sure that they have a way to communicate about AI use as a standard part of your policy, I think is really important. Where do I raise my concerns? Who should I go to? Who do I talk to about that? That just gives them a clear path and ensures that they understand how and where to go with those concerns.
Walk me through the AIR fundamentals course.
Yeah. Yep. So in AI Foundations, we go through kind of 5 core topics. So we start with really understanding that AI security, AI etiquette. Then we get into some really good like prompt engineering, and understanding of how AI can be used across our roles in our organizations. Then we go through adding AI to your day. So we look at workflows and understanding how in your own day-to-day practices, you can gain some personal efficiency. I think AI is very good at personal efficiency. So that's kind of why we make it our second bucket. Same with like content creation and content generation. Then we get into using AI to analyze. So we go through analyze with AI. And that's where we walk through how to use AI in order to do data analysis in your role, how to use it to generate reporting and really kind of go deep from a strategic level. And then we do what we call simplify with AI. And so we take this concept of really complex information, complex ideas, and using AI to help us simplify those ideas and communicate more effectively. It kind of flows really nicely in our industry where we've got a lot of like product knowledge or manuals or code and stuff like that that we're working through, and how do we simplify that. It's also great from a training standpoint, which kind of leads into our last session of the foundations, which is advance with AI. And so we teach companies and team members how they can grow in their roles personally and professionally utilizing AI.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's great. If you followed this series, hopefully this provides you a roadmap to get started, to get this journey started, because AI is here, whether you like it or not. November 30th, 2022, it changed.
Yeah.
Everything changed when ChatGPT came to, put its product out on the marketplace to the masses. And so check out the AI Roofing Revolution, subscribe to the Roofing Success channel. See you guys soon.
Take care.